Human beings are strange creatures. With all of our discoveries, all of the civilizations we have built, and all of the knowledge we have accumulated over thousands of years, we remain extraordinarily forgetful. We forget the lessons that have been communicated to us again and again through myths, religions, philosophies, and the lives of those who came before us. Before modern psychology, self-help paths and philosophy became something studied in universities, human beings told stories. Stories about gods, sages, kings, demons, chosen ones, fallen ones, and transformed ones. And some of the most important stories humanity has ever carried are the ones with religious, mythological, or spiritual weight behind them. The problem is that these stories are almost impossible to discuss clearly. The moment you touch religion or mythology, most people stop thinking. Some attach their entire persona to one belief system and defend it without ever questioning it. Others reject all religion and mythology completely without ever studying what those stories were actually trying to teach. And because of that, most people never reach the deeper layer. They never ask what these stories are actually pointing at beyond the surface information. They never compare different traditions from different cultures and ask what the common thread is and what these characters were trying to build inside the human being who encountered them. Belief systems did not spread across humanity for no reason. Whether they came from divine truth, human imagination, cultural evolution, or psychological necessity, they all served one core function. They shaped how people saw reality. They shaped what people feared, what they valued, how they suffered, how they sacrificed, and how they made meaning out of life. One of the most reliable ways to reach the core of what these stories are pointing at is to compare them across cultures. Because when two completely separate civilizations tell stories with similar structures, similar sacrifices, and similar transformations, we are no longer looking at cultural details. We are looking at a pattern of human transformation itself. That is exactly what the stories of Buddha and Odin reveal when placed side by side. On the surface, they appear to be completely different figures. Buddha comes from ancient India, a prince who leaves comfort behind to understand suffering and reaches awakening under the Bodhi tree. Odin comes from the Norse world, a god-king willing to sacrifice his eye and hang himself from the world tree to gain hidden wisdom. One is associated with peace, stillness, and liberation. The other with war, magic, prophecy, and fate. But beneath the cultural costumes, beneath the religious language, beneath the surface script of both characters, the same path appears. Both paths begin with a rupture, go through a journey of sacrifice, and return with a deeper vision of reality. And both demonstrate that the point of the story was to produce a transformed human being. Part 1. The Rupture. Every serious transformation begins with a rupture, the moment something inside the person breaks open, the point where ordinary life is no longer enough, where a question, a hunger, a deeper yearning enters the mind and refuses to leave. This happens to every human being at some point, through death, failure, heartbreak, depression, or through the particular cruelty of success, when a person finally gets everything they thought they wanted and discovers it still does not answer the deeper emptiness inside them. The only difference between an ordinary person and someone who becomes a legendary figure is how far they are willing to go after the rupture happens. Most people feel it and immediately try to numb it or run away from it. They distract themselves, return to comfort, convince themselves it is not that serious, and bury the question. Figures like Buddha and Odin do neither. They follow the rupture all the way down and allow the question to dismantle the false life. For Buddha, the rupture arrives when he encounters reality outside the palace walls. He was born into royalty, sheltered from pain, old age, sickness, and death, surrounded by everything the world could offer. When he finally sees suffering for the first time, something inside him breaks permanently. The palace transforms from paradise into a beautiful prison. The life he had been given becomes insufficient, because once the deeper question enters the mind, comfort cannot erase it. His question becomes simple and total. What is the root of suffering? Why do human beings suffer? Is there a way beyond this cycle? That question becomes stronger than his attachment to everything he had. That is why he leaves. Because he had everything he was told he would need, and still saw that everything was not enough. Odin's rupture has a different texture, but the same core structure to it. He is already powerful, a god, a king, the All-Father. He has status, authority, and knowledge. But his rupture comes from recognizing that even power is not the same as wisdom. He has knowledge, but knows there is more. He rules, but still seeks. The rupture for Odin is a hunger for a higher form of understanding, a refusal to stop at the level of knowledge he already possesses. This is where both stories meet for the first time. Both had everything by the standards of their world. Both were disturbed by something that the concept of everything could not satisfy. Both understood that the visible, inherited, obvious world was not enough. The path always begins when a person is no longer satisfied with the life that satisfies everyone else. And once that rupture happens, you cannot fully go back. You can pretend to, you can bury the question, but it remains. And for both Buddha and Odin, it became only stronger as time passed by. Part 2. The Journey. The rupture only opens the door. The journey is where the real price is paid. After the question appears, both Buddha and Odin begin the path of sacrifice. For Buddha, the journey takes him away from the palace, and through years of studying with masters, practicing extreme ascetic discipline, and following different methods to their limits. At each stage, he learns something and also recognizes something important. This is still not the final answer. He does not stop at the first teacher. He does not stop at the first method or the first spiritual identity. He does not confuse practice with truth. He keeps going. And eventually, after years of searching, he sits under the Bodhi tree and makes a decision that reveals the full seriousness of his inquiry. He will not leave until he reaches awakening. At this point of his journey, this is not a simple curiosity anymore, nor is it an intellectual exploration. This is way beyond all of that. It's about a person willing to put his entire life on the line for the answer. For Odin, the journey centers around a sacrifice so literal and extreme that it reads as almost impossible to modern sensibilities. He approaches the well of Mimir, the cosmic well of wisdom at the roots of Yggdrasil, and asks to drink from it. The price is one eye. He reaches into his own face, removes it, drops it into the well, and drinks. He accepts permanent physical diminishment in exchange for a depth of seeing that goes beyond what two ordinary eyes could ever perceive. The sacrifice happens before the ordeal and revelation. The willingness to give up something real and irreplaceable is the price of entry. Then he hangs himself from Yggdrasil, wounded by his own spear. For 9 days and 9 nights, without food or water, staring downward into the void beneath the tree. He sacrifices himself to himself. And at the moment of maximum physical depletion and maximum inner openness, the runes reveal themselves. Buddha sits under the Bodhi tree. Odin hangs from the world tree. Both stories place the seeker at the tree, and the tree is never just a simple tree. It represents the axis between ordinary life and hidden reality, the point where the seeker stops running and reality confronts the person directly. Under the tree, Buddha faces illusion, desire, fear, and the final layers of ignorance. On the tree, Odin faces pain, sacrifice, and the hidden laws of existence. Different stories, different cultures, different language, but same underlying structure. Both had to go through the point of no return. Both had to prove that the question mattered more than comfort. Both had to place the old identity on the altar. This is where modern people most fundamentally misunderstand transformation. They want clarity without any discomfort, enlightenment without discipline, truth without losing their illusions. But these stories say the opposite. Real wisdom costs something real. Buddha does not awaken because he admired the idea of peace. Odin does not gain the runes because he liked the concept of wisdom. The journey is not movement. The journey is the destruction of the version of you that wanted the answer without paying the price. Part 3. The Aftermath. The third part is what happens after the realization, and this is where most people's understanding of enlightenment or wisdom reveals itself as fundamentally mistaken. People imagine enlightenment as receiving beautiful information. They imagine wisdom as something peaceful, soft, and comforting. They imagine awakening as freedom from every burden of existence. But the stories of Buddha and Odin show something much more demanding. For Odin, wisdom does not bring peace. He gains knowledge, but part of that knowledge is the awareness of Ragnarok, the doom of the gods, the collapse that is coming, the ending written into the structure of things that even gods cannot fully escape. This is not a small truth. It is the kind of truth that could break most people. And for many people, even a fraction of that realization would be enough to paralyze them into nihilism. If the end is coming, why act? If everything falls, why build? If fate wins, why fight? But Odin does not stop. Even with full knowledge of the coming collapse, he still acts. He still prepares. He still gathers wisdom and moves inside the world, fully knowing the world is temporary. Buddha reaches a parallel truth through different language. He sees impermanence with complete clarity. Everything conditioned is temporary. Everything changes, passes, decays, or dies. The body is temporary. Pleasure is temporary. Status is temporary. Even the self we defend so aggressively is not as fixed as we imagine. For most people, this truth is unbearable because human beings build their lives around clinging, and Buddha's realization cuts through the foundation of that clinging completely. Both face a truth that could destroy an ordinary mind. Odin sees that even gods move toward an end. Buddha sees that all conditioned existence cannot be possessed. But neither story ends in paralysis. Buddha does not awaken and disappear into permanent silence. He returns. He teaches. He translates his realization into a way of living. Odin does not receive dark knowledge and collapse into helplessness. He continues to act, to prepare, to engage under the full shadow of fate. That is the third common thread. The highest wisdom does not remove the burden of life. It teaches you how to carry it consciously. Real wisdom is not an escape from reality. It is the ability to see reality clearly and still act with full engagement inside it. The temporary nature of life does not make action meaningless. It makes action sacred. A song ends. That does not make it meaningless. A life ends. That does not empty it of significance. Meaning is not created by permanence. It is created by the depth of action inside impermanence. Even if everything changes, your choices still shape reality. Even if the outcome is not fully under your control, what you become inside the story is not irrelevant. Closing. Buddha and Odin do not teach the same thing on the surface. Their traditions are different. Their symbols are different. Their language is different. But beneath the surface, they both reveal the same pattern with striking precision. The seeker must be ruptured. The seeker must sacrifice. The seeker must see. And after seeing, the seeker must return to life and act. These stories were never only about them. They were about the part of every human being that feels the rupture, the part that knows ordinary life is not enough, the part that wants truth but fears the price, the part that wants transformation but still clings to comfort. The story only becomes alive when it stops being about ancient characters and starts becoming a mirror for your own life. And the message in that mirror is simple. Do not become a believer of the path. Become the path.